Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dance of the Soul. And we are here, and Wendy Rose Williams is going to be on our show again, and we're going to talk about enjoyment because a lot of of us are struggling. And Regan has had a couple of sessions with people and about comedy and stuff like that. So I think that we're going to do that. So I'm Natasha Venter. I am a psychic medium, intuitive medium, personal awareness life coach. I enjoy helping people come forward in their lives and going through the struggles because I kind of go through them myself. So I've learned well by my own example or watching other people observe and how past lives has really helped me be who I am. And Regan Forsten is a therapist slash a hypnotherapist with the Newton Institute. And I know that you work with a lot of people who have uh, words are not right there right now. The PTSD, right? Did I get it right?
PTSD, yes.
I got it right.
Okay.
Those acronyms, gosh, they mess with my brain. So and a lot of those different scenarios, and I know that Regan, you have been amazing helping people because for one, you've gone through so many life stories of yourself, and then at the same time, you kind of just move through things with an observation in a way, like I do, to kind of say, what is this here for? And that kind of thing. So Regan, hello, welcome. It's been a week since we've seen you.
I know. It's funny how a week seems like a day, but it goes by so fast because we've been doing this now about a year and 3 or 4 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really nice, something to look forward to every week. And I'm glad we got Wendy back on the show again, too, because it's nice to get other people on the show that have had these, fantastic spiritual experiences, things that have helped them, change their life. And as I'm finding out with a lot of my clients, because for people that don't know, haven't seen this already a zillion times, but the Newton Institute, we have discovered a process where we help people achieve a deep state of trance. And most people can do it about 90%. And in that state, they're able to go to heaven and back for a few hours. So it's like becoming a medium in a sense, is the fact that you see all these images and pictures and you start communicating with people from the other side. And this is not just a few people we've done this with. We've done it for, we're getting close to 70,000 now people, and everybody has the same experience. So in our research, we're getting the word out there that the space between here and the other side is becoming a little thinner. It's a little easier to contact, and they've opened up the beings, God, whatever, on the other side has opened up a little portal that anybody can reach if you go through this Newton Institute process. We do it online. We do it in person, and we have about 250 therapists in 46 countries now. So, you visit the afterlife. You guys can get a hold of me that way. But anyway, Natasha, I got to start off by telling you the 2 sessions I had this week were like, it took me by surprise because it was so much fun. I mean, usually, it's very serious, but it was so much fun in this serious thing. One of my clients got the other side, and she's always talking about how bubbly she is and how she just loves to laugh and that. And so when she went to the other side and she met her guide, and she describing how he looks and everything, to me, so I can get a visual image of what she's seeing. And so I said, well, to her, I said, ask him because it was a male, appearing to her as a male, ask him what his name is so we can communicate with him. And he just smiled at her like this, says, oh, you can call me, how about Roger, and she just laughed. She goes, oh my God, I was expecting something like, some kind of really spiritual sounding name. And then I told her she's in trance. And I said, well, that's not too bad that he's Roger, because my client that I had last week before you, the guide says, hey, just call me Bob. and she's in trance now. She's really deep in there, and we're communicating. So she's seeing him, and Roger she said Roger is just laughing like crazy, and I'm laughing and she's laughing. And that set the tone for her whole session. It was all about joy. It was about love and laughter and the sense of humor. For instance, she got before the council and she goes, "Oh, this is what I was kind of afraid of, because people that go in this life between life process session, the vast majority of them are able to ask to go before council to ask questions about their life and everything." And so all of a sudden she goes, "Oh, I don't know. I was kind of worried about this." And he goes, "Oh no, there they are. They're on these big table, these bunch of judges." I guess she was afraid of being judged or something like this, you know. And she says, like, in other words, she's saying they're like up there and I'm down here. And they said, "Oh, you worry about that?" And then they went, and their table went all the way down to her level. And they said, "How is this?" They said, "Is she afraid?" And so they were just playing with her, you know, saying, "You know, you're afraid that we're this hierarchy, something like this." And it was so loving of them to do that. Their table just lowered down, and she goes, "Oh, now they're on my level." And she started laughing because she could see the humor in that, you know, that you don't need to worry about that. And just like Natasha, you found and I found, and people that do this kind of work, there's nothing but love and joy and laughter and learning with a loving heart. You know,
Uh-huh.
they're never the people or the beings on the other side, that their job is to help uplift us and help us, you know, to help us to progress spiritually. Their whole goal is to do it in a loving,
Exactly,
good way.
exactly,
They can
exactly.
be stern sometimes, but it's still sternness with love, you know, and people
Mhm.
know that difference, you know,
Well,
and
like I
everything
had
like that.
Archangel Michael one time said, "You know, you did ask me not to kick you with my cowboy boots, so I'm
Yeah.
trying to do this very lovingly." You know, so it's one of those things. So let's bring Wendy in because I think that it's time to
Yeah.
bring her into this conversation. And welcome, Wendy, to our show
Hello.
again. And I just wanted to kind of keep the segue going a little bit, if you don't mind. That
Yeah.
like so much. I mean, I was so angry with my technology and trying to get internet in that I blew a hole in the aura of my house because I was so angry. And then after that, it's like I had a new guide came in, and he was one that was a pilot in World War II or in one of the wars with me, and he says, "I'm Roger Dodger." It's like, well, there again, making it fun for me. Roger Dodger is helping me with technology because he was so good at it at that time. He knew he could help me in this time, because he's
Yeah.
updating. It's like, oh, so now I have Roger Dodger helping me with my technology.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was just relating so much to what you said about the guides' names, because I was just sitting here laughing backstage going, I've met so many guides and they just go wink, wink, just call me Bob, call me Tim.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the name is,
I
'cause we
know.
all had so many names. It's just to get the guide and the client to agree on that name so they can
Yeah.
connect. It's just that simple, but
Yeah.
they can be really funny about it.
I
Yeah.
know. So
They're not
and
attached to names because and true, they don't usually like my dragon will not give me his true name because then I have ownership over him.
Right,
And we're not to have ownership over each other.
right.
Like Natasha's not my true name. And I'm
Mhm,
not going to tell anybody my true name. It's actually a
mhm,
song.
mhm.
But it's one of those things that, we don't we our true name nobody will have truly because then there's ownership.
yeah.
So with
Our
that,
spiritual
and
name,
it's not that a lot of our
soul name.
guides, angels, and stuff don't necessarily worry about that too much when they're like Archangel Michael. That's his name. That's his soul name. But yet, really, who has ownership over Michael? Mother
Right.
Mary, maybe, but it's one of those things.
Yeah. What was funny too is I've had artists, musicians, people that are crafts and are artistic. And so when I have them on the other side, we'll ask the council or the guide, and we'll say, "Hey, I hear there's places of higher learning here that my clients can visit. And I have an artist here. Is there a place in this higher learning thing where they could get inspiration for painting?" And instantly they're there. And it's just, they're watching people and seeing techniques and things. But generally, what happened with my two artists is when they said, "How can I be better?" Both of them that I remember got the same instruction, and they said, "You're worried too much about technique." They says, "We want you to paint as if you're have the heart of a child." you know, with just everything is whoa and everything. And both of them went, oh yeah, I'm so worried about, you know, because they go to school, they have all these techniques and everything. When I was there, when I took my journey to the other side, I always wanted to create music. And so Rebazar was my guide. He says, okay, so we see this beautiful temple. There's a room. I go in it, and I'm hearing this violin music, you know, beautiful violin music. And I turn around, Rebazar's there, and he says, anytime you want to create music, just picture yourself in this setting where you're sitting right now. And he took like a fishing pole and he threw it out, and then he came back. And instead of fish on the hooks were notes like B flat, C, you know, that sort of thing. And so when I want to create music, you know, because I'm just a basic musician or something, I've actually created a CD. I just got recently got a check from this place that has me on a bunch of places. And my songs have been played like 26,000 times on different places.
Oh my goodness, how exciting! Congratulations!
And I got a check for like $90 and something cents. You know, I mean, it's just
cool.
It's a fraction of.
See, there's these parts of him that he just stays quiet about, and then all of a sudden it's like boom.
Yeah, and when I was a comedian for 30 years, before I had, you know, I was having these spiritual experiences. In trance or in deep prayer, and I do a mantra and whatever, and I was taken, it felt like out of my body, and I was shown, ended up in a world that was like Willy Wonka, you know, it was playful, and there was hot air balloons all over the skies, and my guide said, this is where you can get inspiration for writing comedy, you know, and from that day, because I was doing corporate comedy shows like $5,000 a show. And I would have to write a show for them that was all around their product and service and the people in the company.
So
from that day on, for another 20 years or 15 years, I never had a problem writing a comedy show. I could do it in 2 or 3 hours. The inspiration would just come. So, you know, comedy, laughter, we kind of know, but because of laughter and joy, that was so easy and fun, we dismiss it sometimes, you know, that if you laugh, like some people would think, oh, you go to heaven and they're laughing. Hey, this is serious business, you know, and they would just laugh at you over there because of that. Come on.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why they're laughing. That's why the silliness, because we raise our vibration the minute we're willing to laugh and smile and not take it so seriously. That's how we meet. I mean, our guides can help us meet and really help us at that point.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So let's take this moment, because there might be somebody watching that doesn't know who Wendy is, and we
Right.
do. So
Yeah.
Wendy, just a little snippet of this. This is Wendy Rose Williams. She has been on our show once before, and then she was on my show twice in a row talking about her life and how she opened up. But Wendy is a very wonderful hypnotherapist herself. And you do a lot of other work too. I know that you're very in tune with your guides and working with life and helping people through life. So Wendy, a little snippet of who you are, and welcome again.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm a past life adventure guide, so thank you for the warm welcome back from both of you. And I help people release energy that isn't serving them anymore. Things like depression, anxiety, chronic pain, and all those things that just can get us stuck and stop us in our tracks when we need to lighten up and remember who we really are and why we're here. So that's who I am in a nutshell.
Oh, good. Well, welcome. And so we've all had these stories of how spirit has brought joyfulness into our lives. And it's just amazing to watch how the universe does that. I can't tell you how many different times that, like, my husband and I are arguing, and all of a sudden my fairy pops in, you know, because I have different parts of me that just pop in, and then after a while he's looking at me and he goes, "Damn, I cannot be mad at you," you know, because I just kind of get this little mischievousness. If anybody knows the phase, they can get quite mischievous, and I'm legal about it, but yet I do get mischievous about how to make him not mad at me. So it's one of those things. I just make faces at him, or I do these little quirky things that he just kind of gets a little funny about. So that's how the universe does come in. It brings in sometimes those opposite moments to help us.
Yeah, it does. Also, this other session I had this week was so interesting because the guides were giving her a dissertation that she was telling me what they were saying, and then it was going re-recording this about this. On this planet, there are certain creatures that have this extremely high vibration, which is higher than human almost. And one was the whales, and the other was these the giant redwoods. And he said that there's, if you have this, he says we have to kind of raise ourselves up to get to that vibration, and they're here to help raise that up. And
Elephants. I'm surprised.
Elephants.
Elephants weren't in that, because elephants, whales,
Yes.
elephants, and the elder trees, the cedars and the redwoods, and some of the there's like a tree in each continent that hold the records of that land. And time. So
and what was very uplifting to me is that the council that she was talking to said they wanted to talk to me, and they said that okay, they had her and I do a spiritual exercise, and they gave me the instruction that says close your eyes and to sing a mantra like Om or Hu or something, and they said in doing that, and then we did that for about 4 or 5 minutes, and he says we are going to embed you with the tone of this higher vibration, and it just it gave me goosebumps, you know.
Oh, that's
that they did.
What
Yeah, I mean, it was when I've had it only happened to maybe 3 times out of 100 something sessions I've done, but on the other side, they're just aware that they've opened up this portal, and that us therapists, and they said, they even used my name. They said, Regan, we're so happy that you're getting people to come here and visit, you know. And I've had that happen like 3 times where they would talk to me and say, just keep doing what you're doing, you know. They even gave me advice on a new client that I have coming. And they told me that this is a young person who's very, very aware, but don't talk to her as if she's anything special. In other words, don't try to give these accolades. Just say, look, she's just down here. She's a very advanced soul, but she just needs to just do some work, you know, so you don't have to, you know, give her accolades and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Okay. So, yeah.
That's where the dance of ego sometimes comes in, and we have to be careful with us as guiders of
that's what they
workers,
said. Exactly what they said.
We got to let them unearth their unknowings as they come into the fruition of that timing, instead of us saying, here you are, slam.
Yeah, they were telling me to keep my ego in check. You know, don't try to, you know. But this woman, she now knows why someone gave her a gift to go on a whale tour where she was for 3 weeks down to Mexico. And oh my God, she's a photographer also. So this one, I told her, you got to put this on the internet, because when I saw it, I wanted to cry. It was the whale, and he had just his eye above the water. And you see this big giant eye just a few feet from her, just staring right at you. You know, and you just see the eye. Oh my gosh. And then the whale comes.
Chills.
Yeah. It comes right up out of the water about 3 or 4 feet. And it's just looking, you know, and then it came up under the boat, and it was touching the boat, and it just stayed there so that everybody on the boat could touch it, you know, right around his eye, and just touch it. And she says it was, it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you know, we think we're the be all, you know, but you know, and then the guide said that everything that's here is here for us. You know, everything has the vibration, and everything is to be respected and everything. So it was, and this particular guide, though, particular client was a very high functioning soul. And they were telling her that they're preparing her to be on a council, you know, to help others and stuff, you know. So it was it was one. I just, oh man, I laid down. I think I slept for about 6 hours right after the session. I was just so exhausted emotionally from it, you know.
Yeah.
So we got
You
to,
take it all in because you're
yeah,
working to bring that into the cellular level.
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, and I guess that's why I was a comedian for 30 years, you know. And the reason I was a comedian for 30 years, I didn't realize until 20 years into it, I got burned out and I was trying to go, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then all of a sudden I had an epiphany at the time. And I forget it was through a dream or if it was through, if it was through praying or contemplating. And I was told that I was a comedian because I had no sense of humor. And I realized that was true. I was so analytical. I was so this, and even though I was this comedian and making people cry from laughing, part of me inside was going, "What's the big deal?" You know. And so, the next 10 years, I allowed myself to develop that sense of humor, and it was like it just made me softer. You know, it made me more fun to be around and that sort of thing. So, you know, there's reasons why we have the jobs that we have. You know. In that way.
So Wendy, did you have you had any sessions like that where you were engaged with, you know, the other side and found so much joyfulness out of, I don't know how to put this wording, but you know, it's that navigation of finding, you know, like me going through something major like my technology situation, then having Roger Dodger come in. You know, it's like, well, what a way to lighten up the world, you know, of my life, you know, type of thing. So, because I know
Yes,
you've gone through some major stuff, and yet, you know, without joy, we don't get through it.
absolutely. You hit the nail on the head and that's how we become enlightened because
Mhm.
we lighten up when we're
Yes.
laughing and smiling and do allow that joy and just having a sense of humor, even if it's quirky, even if it's with odd things, because it's also unique to all of us. That's why we
Mhm.
love friends and spouses and family members who have like a similar sense of humor and can just enjoy that. But definitely, because clients can be coming to us and they might have had depression for their whole
Mhm.
life and not known why, or have had anxiety their whole life. And for them to be able to go through and us to find that lifetime of origin or lifetimes together and to be able to lift that up, you don't just immediately, bring in a beautiful waterfall and let's sweep that to the left into your past. Well,
Yes.
I do admit I use my fairy wand at times during sessions, and I will tell people the guides are telling me to pick up my fairy wand and to do what I just described. But you have to get them to be able to feel that in their soul. So often it'll come later in the session when we have gone up to the light and are just able to have another level of healing, or
Mhm.
or sometimes guides will present for people in the wackiest, funniest ways. And I used to facilitate group sessions in person through Airbnb experiences of all things. I
Wow.
would have 6 people at a time in the room, and usually, and part of it was to connect to their guide. And usually people would come up to me afterwards if they weren't comfortable asking the question during like the group debrief, and they would say, I don't think I did the guide part right. And I'm like, what did you say? What did you see? What did you experience? What did you feel or know?
Uh-huh.
And they're like, well, it was like Daffy Duck. And I was like, I'm not split my sides laughing. And I thought, I'm supposed to be serious. I'm like, you did it
Yes.
so
You
well.
did it even better than some of the other
Yes.
people.
Exactly. A plus plus
That's funny.
plus, versus, well, my very stern grandmother came in and
Yeah.
and that might be what was right and what was needed for that person. And also the guides can put masks on. There's lots of cases of that in Journey of Souls where Dr. Newton talks about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes people go home and they know they're on the other side and they're like, oh my goodness, my guide came in and I was so scared because I thought I was in like a very dark place because they had this big, scary devil mask on. And then they pull it off and go, ta-da,
Yeah.
gotcha, you know?
Uh-huh.
Because we create our own experiences and we create what we need. So I've definitely seen that. I've seen some of the just most interesting guides for people because it's not just humans. I mean, it can be a fairy, a mermaid, it could be a color, a sound,
Yeah.
a character from a video game. I'm noticing it's starting to shift. It used to be like, I would say cartoon because of my age, but I'm noticing younger clients are like, whoa, it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, give me context. And they're like, oh, it's from a video game,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah.
because that's kind of replaced the old fashioned Saturday morning cartoon characters.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it can be something from a commercial. Someone's like, oh, well, they're cleansing my aura. And I just keep seeing the scrubbing bubbles commercial from
Yeah.
Soft Scrub on TV. Or I'm seeing like the
Uh,
seven dwarves and they're going, whistle while we work. And
yeah.
they're like clearing out my lower chakras so I can connect to Mother Earth and receive everything I need.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how perfect, because weren't the seven dwarves like down underground? And, you know, they had those little pickaxes and little buckets, and
Yeah.
it's just perfect, but it's just the way a person can relate to it.
I know.
It's their
Exactly.
psyche.
That's it. Well, for people watching now, the things we're saying here, we're not just saying it from experiences Wendy and I've had, but we over the 65,000 cases that we've done now. I mean, there's this thread of humor through everything, and it seems like the guides will appear to you in a way that's acceptable to you. And sometimes that could be, and sometimes they just want you to loosen up. Just don't be so serious. And that's why, if you go to any big, these corporate people know when they give these talks, you got to have talks with humor in them for people to enjoy the talk, for them to learn something. And they did say on the other side that, using humor is a good way for people to learn spiritual principles, and also, any principle,
Mhm.
and we all like, if we have to go to a motivational speaker. I mean, I went to a church with my an ex-girlfriend of mine when I was down in LA. Her boyfriend won't go with her, so he says, "Well, Regan, come on, take her, because I don't want to go to church." So my ex-girlfriend would be sitting there, and they had this one speaker from out of town, and oh my God, it was so beautiful. It was I don't know, I haven't laughed so hard in a long time. It was just all about, I even forget what it's about now, but it was very uplifting. There was like 500 people there. So it's a good way to learn, a good way to teach. And I did corporations, like, when I would do a custom comedy show, I would ask them, are there any new procedures or things or new products, or are you having trouble with some sort of, as there one of the issues I remember, it was for not IBM, but another big, actually they merged with somebody now, another big computer company. And she says, we have this big, huge complex now, and everybody's uh, always complaining about the parking issue, because they don't feel there's enough parking. So Mike, Andy Friendly, he's a little boy dummy that I have, Andy. He's introduced as the new employee, and I'm asking him. I says, "Well, now, I was telling you that if it's going to be your first day, you got to be sure and get there on time." And I said, "What time are you supposed to be there?" And he says, "Well, I'm supposed to be there sharp at 9 a.m." I says, "Well, what time did you get on the campus?" And he says, "Oh, I got there at 7:30." I says, "Wow, I'm so proud of you. You got there an hour and a half early to make sure you're late." And I said, "Well, what time did you go in the door to sit down, for your thing?" And he says, "Oh, almost, it was like 10 o'clock. And I said, why were you an hour late? And he says, "I was looking for a parking space," and, and I tell you, people were laughing so hard. It was like a 5-minute laugh. And it just, because everybody was
Could
thinking of that,
relate
but
to
not
it.
saying it. There's all this tension all the time about finding a parking spot. And he was able to make fun of that, and to kind of, take the sting out of it, and get people to realize, hey, it's okay, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, Sue chimed in and she said one of my guides is my silly guide. She looks like a pixie fairy and comes to lighten things up. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what fairies do. They'll lighten you up, and they'll play with you quite often to get you there. It's funny how things like that happen. I love I would have loved to see one of your shows, Regan. It would have been
Oh,
good.
I miss part of that, but I've changed. It's been 5 years since I did a company show. Since I've been doing this and everything. But when I was on the other side, I asked them. I said, "Well, is comedy still part of my life?" And they go, "Oh God, yes." He says, "If you're talking about LBL or you're doing whatever, keep that sense of humor." And they said maybe maybe the opportunity to do it again. So they said, don't just stop that. You got to keep humor. Keep humor in whatever you do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
It's
that's
the best way to shift our energy, raise our vibration. It's just so
Yeah.
wonderful, so purposeful.
Well, and it's one of the ways that the universe said, like when I'm channeling, that it's one of the ways to come back to being human again. It's one of the fastest ways to get grounded in your body at the same time becoming spiritual. I was at a show I was at a class one time, and we were finding out about our dragons. And my girlfriend, who she works with Ariel, and Ariel is an angel of, but she's almost fae-like. She's very fun, but she's we were doing Reiki on people and doing energy work, and my friend, her dragon came through, and all of a sudden, all she was blowing. Instead of fire, she blew bubbles. Her dragon was pink and blew bubbles. So it was like everybody else was having this, and here she's like, it was like we just started cracking up laughing because the serious talk about channeling and doing work, and here comes my friend, and it was so out of the blue. You wouldn't think a dragon would blow bubbles instead of fire. It's just. But that's the way the universe works.
Well, and see, I'm thinking too, there's people watching this and now they're shaking their heads. They're talking about dragons and fairies and trees and whales and all that kind of thing. But, and it might be something that if you're doubting this, it might be something that you might think about experiencing for yourself, or ask God to give you some sort of experience, because when you have the experience, there's something about it that's otherworldly.
Yes.
There's something about it that's not just you going to a comedy club here or something like that. There's like a spiritual vibration or something that happens, and deep inside, that this is real, or this is something to do with God or some higher power. So it's,
You do have to experience it for yourself, because I'll share a secret with you. I have my MBA degree, and I earned it when I was 22 years old. So I worked in industry for 30 years.
Wow.
So this was a real surprise to me to go through such an awakening, and to find Journey of Souls, and to have my own first sessions, and to realize, oh my goodness, this is life-changing in the best possible way. And I'm meant to train for this and help other people discover the wisdom of their soul, because it's not about someone telling you the way or showing you the way. It's learning who we really are.
Right.
And that's so worth the lifetime journey. That's so worth the incarnation right there.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So if anybody out there, if they have doubts now, what's really wonderful about what Natasha does is the fact that she's just like, got like a lifeline there, or a telephone, just that close. And so if you can't find someone to do, like someone with Wendy or I, to do a past life regression where we could even do it on the internet, even, or online, because there's no space between soul energy.
Quantum field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I had a hard time with that for a while, but now that I've done it a while, and I go, oh my gosh, it's just just as easy for somebody to go in trance and to go to a past life when I'm looking at Zoom with them as it is if I'm there in person with them. You know, but Natasha, what's great about that is with Natasha, you can just, it's pretty quick. You know, you just talk to her and she can see, she can be the intermediary for you to see things. And so,
And that's one thing that I like doing too, is that,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of times with my mediumship, and Sue has experienced this, that it's like we had a conversation, you know, Sue, I hope you don't mind me talking about this, but we had, and I'm not going to go into details, but an experience. And I said a couple words, and her soul knew the truth. And she went into that moment of understanding in a deep level. And that's the thing about working with someone who has good intentions and true calling, is that you go there when you're with them. You go wherever that is. And I know that they do that with both of you, because you have that true calling and that true knowing, and the it's a truth. It's a truth that can happen with how reality is.
Mm-hmm. And it is very surprising, as Regan said, when you're facilitating a session for a client. Natasha, you may have had this experience too, where all of a sudden they'll start talking to you directly, the guides will, or the angels, as the facilitator, as the practitioner, and say, you know, we set this up so that you would learn this, or so that you would recognize this. This session is for both of you.
Yep, I get tapped on the head quite. This is for you too, my dear. This is for you too, my dear.
Well, don't you think, Natasha? I think all three of us, maybe I'm thinking this is probably the same with both of you. Is I know that these sessions I'm doing with the people, that it's not just for them, that there's some kind of healing that I'm having for myself also, or some sort of expanding of consciousness. So even though we're the conduit to kind of connect people to the other side, you know, it's meant for us to be doing this too, because there's something we need to learn, or something that we need to balance out, or something, you know.
I even do that with my massage therapists. Whenever I'm having a massage, usually what my body is needing to be worked on, their body needs to be worked on, or there's something going through this or going through that. And I had a massage by someone, and we didn't have that experience. And I went, okay, she's not mine. She's not for me. It's one of those things that, that you know something's true when you can work on doing things for the better. And Sue wrote this. Thank you, Sue. Natasha brings a soul truth created by healing for me so deep.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, Sue. You know, you and I do some tremendous work. Your meditations are like, they're hypnotic. Hypnotic, whatever you want to call it. It's I do love doing my meditations, because people say, wow, I didn't realize I can go there. So
well, there's another, I've talked to you before, Natasha, about another podcast that's kind of like what we're doing, where they have someone who's been doing research into afterlife, who's actually filmed over 100 Newton Institute sessions, and he's had 6 himself. And then he also went to try to test to see if mediums were real. And
Rich Martini?
Yes, Richard Martini, right. And there's 2, for people watching, if you want to know like the work that all of us do here, Richard Martini has 2 documentaries on Gaia, which is a subscription service, but one's called Hacking the Afterlife, I think, and one's called The Flip Side or something. And it'll show sessions like what I do, and it'll show mediums that they're working with. And he's bringing a lot of credibility to the work that we do, because he was a non-believer, and he's done all the trying to trick the mediums and everything like this until he found the real ones. But I think what's kind of cool that he's doing to try to help people too is he's a Hollywood producer, so he knows a lot of the Hollywood people. And like when Robin Williams died and Bill Paxton recently died, the medium on there was able to contact him from the other side. And especially like Robin Williams, and I only heard part of the interview with Robin speaking through the medium, but it was really, really beautiful what Robin said from the other side. And one there's somebody in Hollywood that was an atheist, total atheist like this, and he's contacted him, speaking through the medium. He says, I remember him saying, I forget who the actor is, but he says, please tell people, don't spend your life just denying that there's a God or anything, because I'm here and I'll tell you it's real, you know. And he's saying, don't be like what I did, you know. So it's pretty cool that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's sad, you know, like Robin, you know, his mind just basically ran his life, and it ran off the cliff basically, and it's so sad. It's so sad for that experience.
for what was this?
Oh, with Robin.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he had just accomplished something, everything to such a
Yes.
wonderful level. The soul was complete.
In a way, that too. It was there again. It's like that, you know, I can't go any further. Where am I going? There's no more to go to. You know, my mind just kind of left
I know it's
where it was
incredibly
going.
hard for family and close friends left behind, but I just think that was an incredible life to celebrate, and just
Yeah.
such a performance, because he brought so much joy and was such a unique talent that there's just so much to celebrate from all the materials of his that you can go back to. Go all the way back to Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, I know.
Just there's such amazing materials there. And he put out such a incredible psychic blast when he went home. I didn't know he had passed on, and I was meditating and I felt him, and I was just hearing him bellowing, "Good morning, Vietnam."
Oh, yeah.
And what I was seeing him doing was rounding up all these souls and showing them the way home.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, that's
Wow.
very interesting. And I came out of my bedroom and I looked at both my daughters. My daughters were teens at the time, and they're like, "Mom, you know, where's our copy of," and they were naming Mrs. Doubtfire. They wanted to find Mrs. Doubtfire. And I was like, well, the DVDs are over here. And they both looked really upset. I said, "What's wrong?" They said, "Well, Robin Williams is dead. That's why we want to watch Mrs. Doubtfire."
Oh,
I
wow.
thought, oh my goodness, that was just that blast. And I'm so sorry for that large energy clearing that just went on. If I'm sure everyone heard that, I have an air filter in my room, and it only comes on where there's a big energy clearing. So I think there's been a lot of sadness around his passing, but boy, is he joyful on the other side and doing
Yes.
so much.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
He was an old soul that knew exactly what he was doing, but he came in with this understanding that he had to play this game.
Big mission.
Big mission. He had to play this big mission.
Yeah. So, you know, for people listening too out there, what we've, and the research and everything been done, is we've pretty much proven that that anybody who's ever lived in this planet, they're still part of them in the afterlife, even if they've reincarnated or whatever, and they're accessible. You know, in other words, it's like when you decide to be born, you don't put all of yourself into the physical body. You keep some of it in heaven, which is your home. You know, so you say part of you comes down, as Richard Martini always says, the rest stays home. You know, so that's why when people are having a session like this, or even with Natasha, we can actually communicate with the soul part of people who are still alive in this life now. You know, like a few times I've had couples for couples therapy come in, and I know what I do. And I said, well, let's, you know, I'll see one day and one the next day, and they talk to each other on the other side, and find out why are they having these problems they're having. What do they need to do? And is the relationship going to be over, or they just need to work on it? And they get answers. It just goes right to the chase, you know. Let's just find out what's here, you know.
That's a wonderful technique, because you can meditate and ask to speak to someone else's higher self.
Right.
Really, for instance, if it's a couple going through a divorce, let's say it's divorced parents who have children together, because they really need to be able to communicate and parent effectively. And that I did that with my former husband a fair bit when someone taught me that technique.
Yeah.
Well, and two, that's the image of a soul staying home. In a way, that's what I call, that's the higher self.
Higher self. Mhm.
Yes.
That's the thread that we have with the higher self, because the higher self isn't necessarily right here. It's right there. And so when we talk to the higher self, it's calling in that part of our soul that can do the work. I know for me, when I don't have permission, I don't read for people who I don't have permission. And so with that I go to their higher self. Even my husband, when he didn't give me permission to do work on him, but there was sometimes when he was in alcoholism, there was something that I had to shift in our relationship, and I would talk to the higher self. And that was going to that soul part that was staying home, because it was neutral. It was more neutrality to know how to maneuver the human soul that was here.
Yeah. One of the things I enjoy the most about doing these life between life sessions, for many of the cases it's that I have, it's like we're into this maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so I'm asking my client questions or getting answers something. And then if she's talking to me, all of a sudden it shifts from first person to third person.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And all of a sudden they're saying, like if it was Wendy and they'd say, they'll say she. Yeah, she needs to do this or whatever. Or Wendy, they'll even say my name. And then sometimes I stop and I go, am I talking to Wendy's higher self? And yes. Oh my gosh. And then there's this, you can feel there's a different energy. Even the way my clients, the way they look and they change, something changes, like it is almost like a different person, but it's a different part of them, different aspect of themselves.
Yes. And that's so helpful for people.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
Because that left brain can come in and object, like after the session, and say, what if I made it all up?
Right.
It's like, do you normally refer to yourself in the third person?
Right.
I don't think so.
I know. And
that was your higher self. That was your soul. Did you learn something new and amazing? And they're like, yes. I'm like, well, if you'd been able to make that all up before, you would have made it up before.
Right. And
you would have solved the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people's answers to things, they don't even need to go before the council for a lot of things. They just, once you get in contact with the higher self knows what's kind of going on. And the higher self can actually do physical healings. They can kind of get into your body and tell you things that are wrong. One of my clients recently, she had hyperthyroid. That seems to be a lot of that lately in my clients, hyperthyroid issues.
It's huge up here in Washington.
Yeah. And so we asked the higher self, says, why does she have this? She says, well, that was from some sexual abuse she had as a child, and it created something. And it told her, says, well, you've dealt with that really good right now, and it's pretty much behind you. So, and so I asked higher self, can you give her healing then? And it says, no, not right now. We're going to do it in the dream state shortly. Because they say you'll be more relaxed, even more receptive, and we'll heal you in the dream state. It's just, I don't know, all this stuff. It's just everybody listening out. This stuff's real. I mean, there's so much help. There's so many things out there that can really enhance your life by you beginning to realize that this play that you're in, you can actually go behind stage and look at the script, and see and
look at the soul contracts and see the physical feelings get resolved. Like you can see someone can finally attain a healthy weight that hasn't been able to, and they can reverse diabetes. They can bring down their high blood pressure. I mean, these things are amazing, and they haven't been able to do it with any physician visits and medications that they've tried. They haven't been able to do it because it was a soul level learning an issue that needed to be corrected and called out.
Yeah. And it's funny because sometimes it's like, let's say I'm trying to, let's say you go to college here and you got your books that you have and you learn all the books and you've got it, and then you go on to another class. Well, we still physically in our house have that book. with all that stuff. And sometimes it gets a little cluttered with all this old stuff, Well, a lot of times in these journeys, a lot of times you'll find out, that stuff you've accumulated, you don't need it anymore. Like you don't need to have that illness that you had, or you don't need to have that. It's just time to clean house, and get rid of. So we kind of get rid of it so we can feel, have a clear room again,
Right.
to move on.
And then we energetically uplift when we clear the clutter, and we can attract those new wonderful energies versus if you've got every inch, just cluttered, as you said, it's hard to attract the new knowledge and the new experiences and energy.
Yeah. What I found out recently too is on the other side, there's a lot of unemployed angels, and they're just sitting there waiting for people to contact to say, hey, I'm ready to work for you. They're just up there going, come on, we're just waiting for you to realize that I can help you, but they
because
have
of
to wait
free
for
will, they're not going to just push in.
Nope.
So ask for help.
So people,
Exactly.
right. When you said, Natasha, like people listening,
definitely.
now,
There's so many that are going, I'm up here. Come on, please.
You people
help
might
me.
think it's silly, but just
I'll help you.
close your eyes and just feel this white light coming all over you and say, look, okay, I'm feeling kind of silly now. Okay, but that's just being human. And I know there's some angels up there, and can you kind of like show me you're here or something, or come to me in a dream or something? And that starts opening that door a little bit, and they're there to help, How good does it feel to know that we're not alone, right? I mean, if you knew that right next door, you could just walk in this office and get any help you wanted, and someone's right there willing to help you, we would do that. That's what we do at work when they had the boss, the higher up, and, oh, I'm stuck here. And you walk in the boss's office and they'll say, oh, this is what you do. Oh, good. Thank you. Now I don't have to spend all day figuring it out,
Now it won't take me 2.5 hours to park.
Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. But the thing is, so people like to, it's easier to stay where we're at in where we're going instead of looking at where we want to go. And that's part of the pattern that we do as humans is that, I know what it feels like to be miserable. I don't know what it feels like to be happy and joyful, so I'm going to keep creating. I don't know how many students create drama because that's what they know. They don't know what it feels like to be happy and joyful and that kind of thing, because all they know is that trauma that goes on. Sadly, I mean, I'm not naming, sometimes families just have no way to do better, because of their scenario.
It's a learned response. It's the trauma.
Exactly. Exactly. And so we stay in that learned behavior because it's easier to keep doing what we're doing instead of thinking, oh, I can maybe get into another room here and, oh my gosh, that's a whole lot better and lighter. I can tell you, like I just had something that happened in the last 24, 78 hours. And it was like, I'm not staying there. I'm moving forward. I'm learning the lesson of it, but I'm moving forward. I don't have to stay in the trauma. I can move forward from it. And it's one of those dances that, a lot of people don't know that they can move forward and out of it.
Yeah.
So, well, we're getting closer to the end,
Are you kidding me?
And Wendy, you have been here, so let's have a little bit of some of your stories that you have about some of your clients, or
Sure.
I mean within confidentiality. I'm not saying that, but
well, I just facilitated a Between Lives session today, and it was like almost 4.5 hours, and it was so wonderful because that client was able to really learn the courage that it took for her to come in so open-hearted, and she was able to see that's why she had some depression too, because she just didn't know how to have those pristine boundaries to not be picking up everyone else's stuff around her. And so we were able to just get her really taking excellent care of herself, and her guides gave her some wonderful, and higher self gave her some wonderful suggestions there. And we also, as Regan said, we don't come in with 100% of our energy because our soul energy is so immense and amazing. And there's reasons why part of it's at home with the light. And we learned what percent she had come in with, which was pretty small. I'll use my own example for confidentiality. I was hitting this place in life where I was just having a lot of fatigue, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what else to do to, eat better, exercise more, get more sleep. I was just hitting a wall. And what I learned in my own session was I only brought 20% of my energy. So we were able to ask during my session, is there anything I can do to work more efficiently, to honor this body more? And the guides all said, nope, you've maxed it all. And we're going to give you some more energy so you can really live your purpose, because you're opening up to this whole new big purpose and you need more energy, Missy. So I was given another 10%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but
Well,
that
that's
to
It's
me was
huge.
50% more than you had.
more.
Yeah.
So to me, that was this huge influx, and then I needed to integrate that. But just the things that she learned like that, and she also learned why she had been going as fastidiously as she was in opening her her clairvoyant senses, just slowly and methodically, and why that journey had been like that. When we understand things why at a soul level, oh my goodness, it's like we can just let go of the issues,
Yeah.
truly move them to the left, move them into the past. I see the present is straight ahead, the past is the left, and the future to the right. And we can just, get in the driver's seat of
Well,
where we're meant to be.
yeah. So all three of us, what we do is we help people to get the why,
Uh-huh.
the why this and why that. And there's something magical about when you just know why something is happening, what the reason is for something, you can deal with it so much easier, you know,
Absolutely.
so much easier.
And I think what we find a lot of times is that we created these issues,
Mm-hmm.
these challenges, these quote limitations, because they were necessary. They were needed at that time, or it was
Mm-hmm.
the best we could do at that time. And when we can start to release, because really they're all self limitations, is one way of looking at it. It's our own, it's our own stuff. It's our own barriers that we've created. And when we can realize, oh my goodness, that doesn't serve me anymore. So, whether it's the physical discomfort, or the mental challenges, or the emotional, the financial, because they're often so linked.
Yeah.
It just so when you can find that one, it really can just clear the board
Yeah.
in the most fantastic ways. It's like you can hit that big red easy button that Office Max used to have,
Yeah.
and just start to reset, to
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy your life, and just lighten up and move to where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
Because yes, there's so many people suffering and struggling with whether it's the physical or the financial or the relationships or whatever it might be, and you just start to tease out, okay, what's the core issue going on here, and then you get one thing understood and changed, and you shift all the other areas, uplift
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
shift too.
It really does. Like with my clients, sometimes before I see them, I have them before they come see me the first time, I have them get a notepad, and they have them put on one page, they'll put their name, on the other page their mom, their dad, the different people in their life, and
Cast
then I
characters.
yeah, a cast of characters. And then I have them put the issues that are causing them stress, or where they feel abused, or whatever they want to do. And then I have them picture their life being they're like a forest of problems, and some trees are really big, like giant redwoods. These are the ones they spend all day thinking about. And some are like pine trees, and then there's a bunch of bushes, you know. And sometimes they'll come in with like 40 things, If you look at all the pages, 40 things that are wrong in their life. So what we do is we work on the tallest trees first.
Mhm.
And then a couple of weeks later, I have them redo their list. And it's surprising. Like they'll come back, now they have 6 or 7 things instead of 40, but we only worked on 2 things. And I said, what's this image of is these big trees fall down, it knocks down a bunch of the other trees and bushes.
Domino.
Yeah, yeah. So that they don't, and they're just amazed, So, the things that Wendy and Natasha and I do, and the techniques we use, they really can really help you. So if you have issues that you thought you'd never get rid of or something, no, there's psychology and everything has changed tremendously in the last 20, 30 years. And you're no longer stuck with them the rest of your life. So you can these modalities, and not just the spiritual things, but like with hypnosis, right, Wendy? Like even just if you have a client that's not into the spiritual, just doing hypnosis or doing the tapping or EMDR, those things just do miracles to get rid of phobias and fears and distress and anxieties and all that sort of thing. So people out there don't live with this giant, bag of junk on your shoulder, just see a good therapist and get rid of it. Then you can have more joy.
Absolutely. And also feel a lot more peaceful. That's a big thing for a lot of people. And to be able to feel more loving and alleviate that fear, because people listening to the news programming, for instance, there's just so much fear and anxiety being engendered. You've got the power, you've got the remote, turn that dang thing off, choose what you're watching. Because it's programming. So watch a great comedy, watch something fun and educational and uplifting that speaks to your heart.
Yeah,
exactly. I know my kids, whenever I was kind of going through those troublesome times, and usually it was while somebody was passing away in my family, that, they would say, Mom, you need a dose of Carol Burnett. And Tim Conway.
Oh yeah. My gosh.
And how could I not laugh? And that's the thing about grief and dealing with things like that. Sometimes you'll go from crying to laughter to crying again, and that's okay to have those moments that as we go forward and that kind of thing. So right now we're at 5:00. Wendy, this has been a blessing to have you here. Thanks, you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank both of you. It was just wonderful to be here. And thank you to your listening audience.
Yes, thank you. So Wendy, how do in the comments I did put your information on the show information.
So I can be reached via my website, which is my full name, wendyrosewilliams.com. And you can also find my books on Amazon simply by going there and putting in my full name.
Yeah, I'm actually reading one of your books about a past life in the colonial times.
Yes.
And it's been kind of interesting. It's kind of got me thinking, where did I dance during that time? Yeah, I did, but I was on the other side with the Native Americans. It's like that kind of thing. So Regan, how do people get a hold of you?
It's on the screen there. Visit theafterlife.com. Lots of videos, information on my site. Matter of fact, I haven't been to it in 2 weeks now for people requesting the free book that I have on there, which I have that on my list of to-dos this week. So if anybody out there has requested the free ebook on my website, I'll be sure and get that out to you within a few days here. So anyway, Wendy, are you doing Zoom sessions too for therapy?
I do. I've been doing all sessions remotely since 2016.
Oh my gosh.
It was nothing to do with the pandemic. My guides just said, here's how you're going to do it. And
wow, that's
what
wonderful.
Are you talking about? Because I didn't know what the technology was.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So you can get a hold of Wendy or I, even for regular therapy. We're actually regular therapists too. And with Natasha, what about you? How are they going to get a hold of you?
You can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. And the one comment that I get a lot when I'm having a session is people go, I go, now you came in with some questions, and they go, well, actually, I had a question, but I don't know how you wove them all together, those questions together to answer. And you came up with the answer that I just kind of went, oh, okay. It wasn't like their life was simple, but it was like, it kind of simplified why this and this and this and this and this and this and this was all pulling,
Well,
and I love
beautiful gift, Natasha, and the fact that you recall all the way back to pre-birth. I mean, it's just, it's wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Yes, I love to support people, and I've helped many people through sessions. I've just had one. He says, "I don't know how you did all that in that short time, but oh my gosh, it changed my life." So, thank you all for coming. And we are here every Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific time
Yeah.
on YouTube and Facebook. And Twitter also I'm on. And so if you've been watching on Twitter, I cannot read your comments. I apologize. So you have to go to YouTube. I should have said that earlier to make a comment. So thank you all for coming, and I will see you whoever wanted to come on Wednesday for Life Clarifications with Natasha, 4 o'clock Pacific time on the same stations. Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you,
Okay.
Sue, if you're still there, for commenting. I'm so grateful for the interaction. It makes the show more palatable and interactive, because this is just a perception we have. It's nice to bring in other perceptions.
Yeah.
So thank you again, everyone. Have a great day and blessings. And remember, you can roll with the energy. You don't have to be in it, because I know it's pretty thick lately. So blessings, blessings.